Hi, my name is Allison Avery. My program location was in La Ceiba, Honduras. Program dates were from May 18th to June 16th, and I volunteered at the pre-medical program in La Ceiba, Honduras. Raphael was my broader view coordinator, and he helped our group with everything that we needed during our trip. We were able to volunteer at a lot of different hospitals, and during the week, Raphael always made sure that we knew where to go, and he would check in on us during the day to make sure that everything was okay. After a few weeks, our group felt really comfortable finding our way through the hospitals and finding help wherever we were needed. The most surprising thing about the program was how patient and helpful the nurses and the doctors were. I would have totally understood if they had been frustrated with my broken English and potentially slowing down their work, but in my experience, all of the nurses and doctors were patient and kind and really helpful. At the accommodation, the most surprising thing was probably that it felt like home almost immediately. I was surprised by how comfortable and modern the house was. I ended up having my own room and bathroom and a fan to use at night when it got hot. There were some small surprises, like not being able to flush toilet paper down the toilet or not using the sink water to brush my teeth, but overall I felt really comfortable and safe in the house. The most surprising thing about the country was definitely the people. During our first week, we were able to help with the vaccination campaign and walk through different neighborhoods of La Ceiba, giving vaccinations, vitamins, parasite medications to the citizens. It really amazed me how amicable and generous the people were. People would frequently welcome us into their homes and offer cold drinks or fresh fruit from the trees in their yard. Seeing the different places people lived and interacting with the community outside of the hospital was probably one of my favorite parts of the trip. The most difficult experience about the program was probably adjusting to the different working environment. All of us in the group that I came with are advanced EMTs, and we work on an ambulance in Vermont, so we've been fortunate to have training in wound care, IV establishment, CPR, medication administration, etc. So we really are always fortunate to have sterile supplies and the resources that we need to care for our patients, and it was difficult to adjust to minimal resources. It not only gave me a new appreciation for my own ambulance service, but made me realize that there's still a lot for our group to do here in the future. At the accommodation, I didn't have really any problems. The only minor setback was being sick for a few days, but I would just recommend bringing Pepto-Bismol and maybe an antibiotic in case you're sick. It was definitely hot and sweaty most of the time, but we all acclimated pretty quickly. The most difficult thing about the country was seeing how little that some people have. The hospitals have very few supplies, and patients are sometimes responsible for bringing their own gauze or ointment to care for their wounds. We were fortunate to be able to donate around $8,000 worth of medical supplies, but even still we found there was so much more we should have brought. For the first time, I encountered patients whom I knew how to care for, but I didn't have the means to provide care, and that was really tough for me sometimes. Tips for future volunteers: it's really hot, so loose breathable clothing is ideal. Bring lots of scrubs because you need to change into clean scrubs if you want to watch a surgery. There are also a lot of opportunities to go on little trips to hike or swim or go to the islands, so be sure to bring good shoes and swim things if that's something that you're interested in checking out. Donations are definitely needed. We were fortunate to find a nonprofit organization to give us medical supplies to donate to the hospitals, so I would definitely recommend researching or fundraising to bring as much as you can. There's a huge need for just basic medical supplies like gloves, gowns, face masks, sterile gauze, antibacterial ointments, tourniquets, alcohol pads, and if there was anything I could have done differently, it would have been to bring more donations. Even donations aside from medical supplies like clipboards, pens, staplers, soap, hand sanitizer are all really needed here. The weather is hot and humid pretty much every day, so be prepared to sweat. There are some areas of the hospital that are air conditioned and some local places with AC, but overall just be ready to sweat a lot. The doctors and nurses here are so helpful and friendly, so don't be shy and ask to help, and don't be afraid to make mistakes in Spanish as long as you're trying. I would also recommend taking a Spanish class if you can before you come, or buying a Spanish dictionary to keep on you. Bring bug spray and lots of sunscreen. The city and the country are really beautiful, so I would also recommend making the most of your downtime, but still focusing on spending as much time in the hospital as you can. Volunteering in the hospitals here and walking through the neighborhoods vaccinating the community was one of the most unique and life-changing experiences that I've had. Being an EMS in the United States has allowed me to see a decent amount of medical emergencies, but observing the effects of poverty and lack of medical resources firsthand truly altered my perception. I have always felt comfortable and at home in the host house here, and I've made so many connections that I hope will last longer than just this month. This trip was everything that I hoped it would be and a lot more, and I really can't wait to return. I think that the house here was great. I always felt comfortable and at home. We had our meals cooked for us at the house, but we could always go out and eat if we let the family know beforehand. One night we also cooked for everyone in the house, which was super fun. I always felt really safe at home, and walking around felt to me like most other big cities in the United States. We were pretty much always home before dark and stayed together as a group whenever we went anywhere, which definitely helped us feel safe and secure. There are taxis all throughout the city too, so if we ever wanted to go somewhere, we could get one, or Raphael would call a taxi for us if we wanted to go somewhere together. My favorite program memory was probably being able to spend time with newborn babies after C-sections. The first C-section that I saw, I cried when the baby came out, strong and healthy, and one of the doctors made fun of me for a little bit after that, but it really is such an incredible thing to be able to hold a newborn baby for the first time. My favorite memory of the country was probably one afternoon when our group went to the waterfalls in the mountains, and it was literally the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my entire life. A Broader View was great. Prior to our travel, they answered all of the questions that I had before coming. At one point, I emailed coordinators about 3 times about my fundraising page, and they were always helpful and answered quickly. I watched almost all of the videos from other volunteers who had come to this program, and I found them to be super helpful and accurate as well. I'm definitely willing to speak to other Broader View volunteers if they have questions. And we found out about a Broader View from Marty, one of our group members, who wanted a service trip specific for pre-medicine and found it online.